The Aurora drifted through the silent, endless expanse of space, its metallic hull a single gleaming point against the black velvet of the cosmos. Out here, beyond the borders of charted space, the stars seemed brighter, their cold light spilling across the control room in a cascade of distant, indifferent beauty. For the small crew on board, life had become a cycle of monotony and meticulous routine, the excitement of discovery dulled by months of cataloging empty planets, barren asteroids, and distant stars. Dr. Elena Kade had been in charge of these missions for over a decade, her career dedicated to pushing humanity's boundaries further than anyone had before. Despite her steady position and respected reputation, the isolation of these far-reaching missions had taken a toll, creating a familiar but heavy weariness she carried every day. As she sat alone at her console in the dimly lit control room, she could feel the weight of the silence pressing down on her, almost as though the vast emptiness outside the ship had seeped in. Each day, she ran through the same routine. There were logs to file, readings to record, and system checks to complete. Occasionally, there would be a minor excitement, a planet with an interesting atmosphere, an asteroid belt rich in rare metals, but mostly, it was routine. The only relief from the tedium was the small crew, each member chosen for their unique skill set and tolerance for solitude. Dr. Amir Patel, the team's physicist, was a fresh addition to the crew, his enthusiasm for discovery still untarnished by the long stretches of quiet. He had signed up for the mission with dreams of uncovering alien worlds, of making discoveries that would set his name in history. But even he, with his wide-eyed ambition, had started to wear down, his voice quieter, his movements slower as the days bled into each other. Isaac Fong, the team's historian and former military strategist, had taken a different approach to the mission. His quiet, stoic demeanor seemed to grow stronger in isolation, and he often spent hours silently studying old records or reading about long-dead civilizations. To him, these long silences were a blessing, giving him the time he needed to think, to reflect. Despite his quiet nature, Isaac was always the first to sense tension or danger, his instincts honed from years of experience in environments just as unforgiving as the void of space. For weeks, they had drifted through nothingness, the ship's scanners combing through the darkness for anything of note. The universe was vast, and even out here at the edge of known space, there was little to break the silence, until at last, something did. A blip, a faint, barely perceptible pulse lit up on Elena's console, cutting through the stillness like a pinprick of light. She sat up, her heart quickening as she adjusted the sensors to isolate the source. She hadn't expected anything out here, let alone something this unusual. The signal was erratic, its readings fluctuating, almost as if it were struggling to make itself known. "Elena, you picking this up?" Amir's voice crackled through the intercom, filled with excitement. He had noticed the same blip on his console, and Elena could almost picture the eager expression on his face as he leaned forward to examine the readings. She nodded, though she knew he couldn't see her. "I see it, Amir. It's strange. The pattern's too precise to be natural, but I can't pinpoint its origin yet." Within moments, the rest of the crew had gathered in the control room, the soft glow of the screens illuminating their faces as they stared at the data. The faint pulse continued, rhythmic and deliberate, like a heartbeat against the silence. Isaac narrowed his eyes as he studied the readings. "This could be nothing," he said, though there was an undercurrent of interest in his tone. "Just some background radiation or interference." "But what if it's not?" Amir countered, his voice brimming with excitement. "What if this is... it could be anything. An ancient probe, a beacon, some kind of alien technology. This could be the biggest discovery in decades." Elena glanced between them, feeling the weight of their contrasting reactions. She herself felt torn, the thrill of discovery warring with a sense of caution that had been ingrained in her over years of exploration. They were far from home, farther than any human had ever been, and the unknown could be as dangerous as it was enticing. "Let's not jump to conclusions," she said, keeping her voice steady. "We'll approach slowly, monitor the signal, and gather data from a distance. If it's worth investigating further, we'll discuss sending a team down." As she issued the command, the ship adjusted course, its thrusters firing as they angled toward the distant source of the signal. The faint blip grew stronger as they closed in, each pulse growing sharper, more defined. The crew watched in silence, their faces illuminated by the glow of the screens, each of them feeling the tension in the air. As they drew closer, the planet came into view on the screen, and a hush fell over the control room. It wasn't what they had expected, not a barren rock or a lush alien world, but something entirely different. The planet was covered in metallic wreckage, its surface scarred with deep craters, some filled with solidified metal slag. Twisted metal structures jutted from the ground like jagged teeth, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape. The sensors picked up traces of radiation, lingering energy pulses, and materials that defied any known classification. What is this? Amir whispered, his voice filled with awe and confusion. Isaac leaned closer, his expression darkening as he took in the scene. It's not a city. It's not even a ruin. It's a battlefield. Elena's gaze was fixed on the screen, her mind racing as she tried to make sense of what they were seeing. This wasn't the site of an ancient civilization. It was a graveyard, a place where something terrible had happened, where destruction had been wrought on a scale she could barely comprehend. The excitement that had filled the control room moments before had shifted, replaced by a heavy sense of unease. Whatever had happened on this planet, it had left nothing behind but ashes and ruin. Elena took a steadying breath, forcing herself to focus. We need to be cautious. Whatever this is, it's not what we expected. The crew fell silent, the weight of their discovery settling over them like a shroud. They had come searching for answers, for signs of life or civilization, but instead they had found something else. A testament to destruction, a warning carved into the very surface of the planet. As the aurora continued its descent, the signal grew stronger, its pulse echoing in their ears, a haunting reminder of the unknown forces that lay hidden in the darkness.